Hey folks, you want to learn how to understand and then dominate your markets on Amazon? Let me show you how to do that. My name is Zach Edgman and I'm here at Smart Scout, ready to dive into the tool itself. Great, now at Smart Scout, we're famous for our top to bottom approach of the Amazon market. What that means is we help you analyze everything from all the categories within Amazon, and then we drill down and get a little bit more granular from there. So the benefit here is we can take a bird's eye perspective of everything that's happening in the Amazon space, specifically your markets. This is gonna help you save time. This is gonna help you be much more data driven, and this is going to help you completely outpace all of your competition by understanding overall market trends. Let's actually get into the tool itself. The subcategory we're gonna be checking out is going to be the energy drink subcategory. Here we go. So before we actually get into the subcategory itself, first things first, we can see that this subcategory in the last 30 days has done about $55 million. We can see that Vendor Central dominates this subcategory by about 68% as opposed to the 32% of seller revenue. And then we can see a few other things here as well, right? How many units are sold, how many ASINs are in this subcategory, and a few other metrics that I can dive into in a little bit. Now, actually diving into this subcategory, right? We can see some of those metrics I talked about. The average selling price is $32. We can see the average rating is 4.3 stars, very competitive there. There are 412 brands in this subcategory. And number of ASINs, we can see there's 2,600. The average page score, now what this is Smart Scout's own internal ranking that we give each brand, each ASIN, and of course each subcategory. So what we're looking at is we're looking at every single ASIN in the subcategory, how optimized they are in terms of Amazon. So that means number of images they have, if there's a video attached to the ASIN page, the number of bullet points, the product description, and then even the quality of all of the copy involved, right? That's the title, description, bullet points, all of that. And then we give it a score of 1 to 10, and then if we're looking at it from a subcategory view, we average that out. That gives us an idea of how well optimized the overall subcategory is, and it can kind of help you understand, how advanced these subcategories are. Now, getting into it here, one of the first things I do like to check out is just understanding the historical performance of this subcategory. Now, I'm gonna try out our newest feature, our Scope 2.0 tool. Now, we can see the year-over-year performance of energy drinks. Now look at this. Right? Energy drinks are almost double what they were last year. This is super interesting because maybe people are more comfortable with buying energy drinks on Amazon. Maybe they just, energy drinks are more popular in general. So understanding the overall historical performance of a subcategory is huge. Now also checking out market share here. This is great just to understand at a glance the top brands and how much revenue percentage they've had historically, right? We can see that Monster is the top leader, followed by Celsius, followed by Crystal Light, which is interesting, and then Red Bull, and then Cellucor. So let's actually dive into the subcategory. Now this is just one subcategory we're doing analysis on, right? This applies to every other subcategory in Amazon. Right now there's about 20,000. That number always changes, but of the 20,000 subcategories, this same research you can do yourself with Smart Scout. Now, looking at just a quick snapshot of what's happening, right? We can see how much revenue each of these brands is capturing in the energy drink subcategory, their current market share, as well as their market share change. Look at this. Monster Energy has captured 15.2% in the last 60 days. That is pretty insane. We can see how many ASINs are sold by each of these brands in this subcategory. We can see the average page score as well as the average price of all of these ASINs, right? Now this average price is great because if we're looking to launch a brand new product or expand our product line in a given subcategory, understanding how the top performers are selling in terms of their price range is going to be super helpful. Are we going to want to be a cost leader or a quality leader? And that's gonna help us understand just by looking at the top competitors here, right? So we're gonna pretend that we're Zevia in this example. We're gonna understand this market, and then we're gonna try to figure out how we can grow in this market, right? By using Smart Scout itself. Now, let's click into the brand itself. So now that we have an understanding of what's happening in the energy drink subcategory, we can see how all of the brands move and shake, the overall subcategory's performance, right? And then we can understand as well some decent pricing points that we wanna do. Now let's click into Zevia as a brand. Now, just taking a quick snapshot at the brand Zevia, we can see a few really important metrics here. Now, think about this in looking at your own metrics, but also looking at your competitors' metrics, right? These snapshots that we can see for every single brand in the Amazon space. So this is great because at a glance, you understand everything that's happening with your biggest foes as well as yourself. Right? So Zevia, we can see does about $2 million in the last 30 days. Great brand score, 8.4. That's that score I was talking about earlier. They're in 5 different subcategories. We can see their top subcategory performance. They've got 115 products, right? Reviews and average rating, 77K. There are a lot of really cool metrics here that I'm gonna dive into in just a second. Now, Before I get into the products, I do like to take a quick glance at the sellers. We can see that Vendor Central is primarily what Zevia is sold through. It looks like they've got quite a few different resellers as well. That is because they have some retail presence, but for the most part, it's sold through Vendor Central. We can also look at the marketplaces and we can understand, okay, so they are primarily in the US, but it does look like they're expanding a little bit into Canada and a little bit into Mexico. Now, getting into the subcategories themselves, right? We were just looking at energy drinks. We can see that Zevia is primarily a soda soft drink subcategory seller, but energy drinks is going to be their second largest subcategory. And that's because, of course, they're making a play to move into here. And we can actually just see that right here with the historical data, Scope 2.0. So let's look at market share. All right, so now that we're in here, right, we can see the market share of Zevia. Let's actually deselect all of their subcategories and just select energy drinks and see what's happening here. Now that we're in, right, we can see here energy drinks, they've actually been moving in and out of the overall energy drink market share performance. I happen to know that this is a big focus for them, so we can see kind of the ups and downs of what's happening within this brand, right? We have this data out to the last 2 years, so it's neat to see kind of maybe some of the emotion that's happening behind this brand's eyes. Now let's get into some more keywords, CPC, and advertising data. Alrighty, so Zevia is currently advertising on 4,100 different search terms, and let's find all the search terms that contain energy in it. Keep in mind, this is AdSpy. AdSpy, what we are doing is we are stocking about 200,000 to 300,000 search terms 3 to 5 times a day, and then we're aggregating that data over the last 30 days. So we allow you to basically stock everything that's happening in terms of keyword and search term data inside of Amazon. This is really unique because now we can identify, okay, where are these different brands placing their heaviest advertisements? How often are they winning the different spots? And then at the end, how much are they actually spending? All right, so with that in mind, here are 257 search terms that have the word energy in it, right? We can see here their estimated weekly search volume, estimated cost per click, how many products they have with these advertisements for this particular search term, a few other metrics, and then at the end, we can see the total ad spend that they're spending on each of these different search terms, right? So this gives us a great idea of how much emphasis they're putting into each of their search terms. All right, now let's AdSpy at brand level. I actually want to spend some time at the ASIN level here. This is going to give us some awesome instant actionable insights that today Zevia can start winning. All right, now I actually like to have this primary subcategory selected so we know exactly which subcategory of ASINs we're looking at. All right, so here is Zevia, their energy drinks, right? Their third best seller. Let's click into this SKU right here. Okay, so this ASIN we can see has done about $115,000 in the last 30 days. We can see the average buy box price. We can see their rank. We can see a few other really cool metrics here, right? How much is sold through Amazon.com and all of that. We can also see which variations are attached to this particular SKU. We can see each of the variations. We can see the Amazon stock rate of all the variations. If the variations are out of stock, the buy box price of each, and then the estimated monthly revenue that each of these variations is capturing. We can also see the marketplaces of this ASIN, right? These guys are based only in the US, but let's actually get into the search term data itself. So if I'm Zevia and I'm trying to branch into the energy drink subcategory, I already have an ASIN that does $115,000 every single month. That's gonna take a lot of focus for me. What I wanna know is where am I missing out on, right? What gaps do I have that I'm completely blind to? And we can use Smart Scout to find these gaps. So by doing that, I'm actually gonna come over here to this keyword detective tool at the ASIN level. And what we can do is we can actually pick a couple different ASINs to cross compare. And we can see that Smart Scout, just based off of search term relevancy, it automatically pulls in 2 different SKUs, but we can select whichever ASINs that we want to cross compare. Keep in mind that you need 3 to throw in. I'm assuming that you have 3 in the back of your head that you really want to cross compare, and this is how you can do so. So right off the bat, right, we have organic and paid. Now, of the ASINs that Smart Scout just automatically threw in, we can see that there's a lot of crossover in the organic, not as much in the paid, but that's okay because we can still do quite a bit of research here. So we can see in this Venn diagram, Zevia is this little circle down below, Zao is this left circle, Alani Nu is this right circle. And we can see that there are about almost 1,300 unique search terms that both Zao and Alani Nu are ranking on that Zevia is not touching. So let's select this and we can actually dive in and find which search terms those are. So I'm gonna set this to unique right here. Yes. And then I'm actually gonna adjust this estimated weekly search volume. I'm gonna set a minimum here of 1,500 weekly searches. So the reason for that is we're trying to identify and maybe focus on search terms that have high volume. Now, let's sort this intent by high intent. This is just how likely somebody is to purchase on the first page without having to move on to the second and third pages. Alrighty, so NOS energy drink, right? Celsius Peach Vibe, G Fuel Cans, Big Energy. I mean, all of these are search terms that have a sizable amount of weekly search volume that we can see Alani Nu and Zao are both attempting to rank on, and we haven't found any presence from Zevia in the last month, okay? There are almost 260 search terms that have at least 1,500 weekly searches that Zevia hasn't touched. If I'm Zevia, these are search terms that I can start to prioritize right now, right? This is growth that I can check out and I can start really attacking at this moment. So these are search terms that have very high conversion that are also long tail, right? So there's a lot of killer potential here that Zevia is completely missing out on. And frankly, your brand is probably completely missing out on as well. Now, that's just organic. So we just checked out organic searches. Now let's take a dive into paid searches and see what that looks like for the brand Zevia, right? We can see that there's not much of a Venn diagram between Alani Nu, Zevia, and Zao as there was for organic, but we can still do some pretty killer analysis here. So let's dive into Zao itself because we can see that they are pretty heavily laying into the advertising game. Now check this out. Let's set this to unique. Let's change this to yes right here. Okay, almost 1,200 different search terms that our Zevia product is not ranking on that we are finding Zao is advertising on. Look at this, Zevia 24 pack, right? There's only 13 weekly searches, but Zao is actually ranking on that, advertising on that, and we're not seeing any presence from Zevia. Now this leads me to my next point. Let's find all the search terms that are branded to Zevia. So let's set this to contains, check this. Here are 10 ASINs that Zao is actually targeting deliberately. They're paying money on these search terms, and Zevia, this ASIN is not touching. Okay, so Zao is very aware of Zevia. Zevia is probably aware of Zao, but may not be targeting them as heavily as Zao's team is targeting Zevia. Now we can do that same thing with organic as well, but let's actually move on to the actual just advertisements that Zevia is advertising as well, right? At the ASIN level, just like the ad spy tool we saw earlier, we can see all of the advertisements this particular variation is advertising on. Looks like there's only 10, and we can see how often they win the different spots, the weekly search volume, all of the different relevant terms that we did have at the brand level. We just walked through a ton of information in this video today. I really hope you enjoyed it. It really is just the tip of the iceberg of what Smart Scout can provide. If you want to know more, check the link in the description. If you want to walk through this live with me, I'd love to do so. Book a time on my calendar and we can check this out together. Wherever you're at, have a great day, have a great night. But remember, search smarter, not harder.